Shalom. This is Mary Omni from the World Government House of King David, Holy Covenant Constitutional Enforcer. This is a Republic Notice. This Republic Notice is titled, Whites' Megalomania About Freeing Blacks. Whites' Megalomania About Freeing Blacks. It's 2013, October. I believe martial law is starting to get underway in different cities. These maniacs are on the loose, and Satan is definitely on the ground. For those who don't know, Satan is definitely on the ground. In Washington, D.C., October the 4th, black woman was shot in front of her child with them racing cars like maniacs at her. You know, an 8-year-old boy was shot in the face. No one is arrested. They cheered when Trayvon Martin got shot. You know, now this ideal that whites free blacks is megalomania. What is megalomania? It's a psychopathological disorder characterized by delusions of importance or grandeur or omnipotence in something. So, they feel as though they have an omnipotency about freeing blacks from slavery, because the first thing they'll say is, whites helped free you from slavery. How could you, go against us? You ungrateful. We helped free you from slavery. We helped free you. And let me just say, these whites are so megalomania and so delusional. It's, pathetic. Number one, King YESHUA freed his people, also known as King Jesus, not only in America, but in Egypt, where the same people resurrected. Black Americans are. The same ones that was in captivity in Egypt is resurrected in America as black Americans. And King YESHUA in both places and the God of Israel freed his people from bondage. Okay? Now, did King YESHUA and his father, the God of Israel, put strength in men like President Lincoln and help men like President Lincoln bring something about? Of course. But number two, President Lincoln was called Abraham Lincoln, but the people of that day called him Lincoln Africanus, because they was linking him to the black womb descendancy that they know he came from. Okay? Lincoln Africanus. Okay? Now, also, you forget, in the Revolutionary Soldiers, it was black men, and it was red men, and it was white men. In the Civil War, it was Buffalo Soldiers, and per capita of population, black soldiers took a bigger hit per capita of their population, because there was a smaller population than the whites, and 300 or more thousand of them died. So that was a mighty big hit for you to say whites freed blacks from slavery when we have a 15th Amendment dedicated to the Buffalo Soldiers that carved that 15th Amendment by the shedding of blood. See, you can't shed an animal. A bull won't do it, or goat won't do it. The shedding and the sacrifice of blood is written in that Constitution. So this megalomania delusion that whites freed blacks is whites in megalomania thinking that they have the importance of King YESHUA or the omnipresence, which shows how sick they are. How could these people in majority that cheer when somebody like Trayvon Martin have any kind of real moral compass to free blacks? No, a lot of them men that were witnesses and that were in the Union War, that was part of the Union War that served President Lincoln and that served this union, wanted to forge a union. And that came because King YESHUA pressed the grapes of wrath If King YESHUA's spirit and energy had not been among them, then the grapes of wrath would not have been pressed. There would not have been a war. All of it was King YESHUA. Everything is God, and God is everything. It's just an illusion that man has the power within himself. Okay? God calls people to do many things. He calls them. He called the constitutional writers as his right hand administrators of law. Okay? There are our Ephraim brothers. And what distinguishes our Ephraim brothers from the average white person who want to take credit is the Ephraim brothers were way prior to 1871. Most whites in America now came after 1871 to trample and infringe on the Constitution and demand a slave remedy called the 14th that don't belong to them. So they would have been the Confederates, really. The majority of whites today would have been the Confederates trying to keep and hold blacks into captivity. And see, that's the irony of talking about whites freed you. See, everybody of your kind is not your kind. Our Ephraim brothers in white skin that are witnesses and signatories on the Constitution is not the Confederates. See, we had two types of white males in this American dream of God's sovereignty. And that's the real dream of God's sovereignty. That dream is written in the Constitution. We have God's sovereignty in the supreme contract called the Constitution. It's written because 3/5 couldn't consent. They inherited everything, and they took the whip from Satan 300 years to remain God's sovereign. Not the volunteer slaves you see the majority of whites go to for any trinkets and anything the banksters or anybody give them. They done voted corporate and foreign for 100 years. They have nothing in them that would have the moral or the strength or the magnitude of the men that actually served King YESHUA to help liberate this nation of the namesake called Judah Black Americans. So it's really a sad thing that these whites who did nothing but trample and infringe, that came after 1871, the U.S. corporation, which President Lincoln promised as the mule to blacks that came with their 40 acres. The U.S. corporation is the mule, and it was created 5 years after blacks became a nation of constitutional people with contract enforcement rights in every jurisdiction, every state, and in every capacity nationally. So therefore, it was put in the Constitution in 1868 that they became a nation. Okay, in 1866, they was a nation, and it was constitutionalized in 1868 when the sacrifice of oblation was cut off. You had a non-consent then built in the constitutionality that had non-consent legality, because the whole constitutional jurisdiction had to be changed to abolish slavery from consent jurisdiction to non-consent jurisdiction. That's how much slavery was a part of the whole American beginning and makeup and history. That it had to literally change the whole jurisdiction of the Constitution from consent jurisdiction to slavery to non-consent jurisdiction, calling the abolishment of involuntary servitude. And that happened in 1865. So these people who came after 1865, 1866, up to 1870, they came after the whole republic was established. And they came saying the republic owes them a 14th Amendment non-consented slave remedy. So if you trying to exert that these people are not entitled to their 400 years of fruit of labor and having a remedy for it, how in the hell could you be participating in freeing them? And you came with the Banksters and all the Globalists and assisted in trampling the constitutional republic as public mystery Babylon, meaning all those who came after 1871 for a dream of trampling and untaking and pillage with the Banksters. Okay? And then you laugh, a lot of you, and you get in glee and you don't stand up. You saw 3 million constitutional citizens jailed. You seen them shot in the street. You seen them shot in the head. You have nothing to do with the liberation of black people. If it weren't for you, the globalists wouldn't have had dung fuel to even get as evil as they got. So you're the main feeders of captivity and slavery. And this is why the majority of you is going into captivity and slavery, because you've been dung fuel for the globalists, evil elite. You've been majority dung fuel. That's why you go in the majority, and you know that the majority is not how the Constitution is made up. It's a republic. A republic is when one juror rejects. The whole other 11 jurors have to respect that. Now, you know that, but you want to act dumb as whites because you want to have selective intelligence as long as it benefits you. You want the constitutionality to be twisted and everything in the shape of your nose so that it fits you and you can have your cake and eat it too. Then you can come up with all this other rhetoric that you side with the global end about blacks being low. Yeah, everything black is bad. You know, they low and then ghetto, bragging about your success in helping the globalists trample the Constitution, the Civil War soldiers, President Lincoln, the constitutional writers, the constitutional revolutionary. All the white majority do is brag for the globalists of how they help trample blacks to the point of attrition them out of education, you know, out of health care, out of their money, out of their wealth, out of their housing and everything, because they say you stuck in the ghettos, you stuck in jail, you do this, you do that, you do that. And that's a constant braggadocious that they've been successfully helping the banksters and the global elite trample blacks who they know have constitutional amendments. So, you know, your evil is being stripped naked. You're way more evil than the elite globalists. You're way more evil. And the elite globalists know that. And you're way more evil with dung contracts. And that's why King YESHUA relegated you to the mule ass and put you in abomination of desolation contracts. You contract with blacks' mule anus in desolation of abomination contracts. Okay? And that means you're in the dung pile. And the Tower of Babel is going to the abyss. Ezekiel 33:15. If the wicked restore the pledge, give again that he had robbed, walk in the statutes of life without committing inequity, he shall surely live, he shall not die. So in order for you to live and not die or go to a second death, you have to restore the pledge. That means the republic. You heard the Pledge of Allegiance in school. It's to the republic. It's not to no public for which it stands. It's I pledge allegiance to the republic. If you don't pledge allegiance to blacks in that republic in the 1 through 15th amendments, not on the other side of the 1871 U.S. corporate mule 10-mile radius, which most of you came in on later, to rob and steal with the banksters and globalists, an amendment you could never have because it's non-consented. That Constitution is blood, Fort Knox in platinum and gold. So all you could do is just steal, trample, and pillage. Okay? If you came after 1871, all you can do is still trample and pillage for the globalists, the banksters. And you all know the banksters are crooked, so you all know you don't really own them houses, do you? You all know the banksters are crooked, so you all know you don't really own them cars and them houses. And you know that you really don't have no 14th Amendment birthrights, because if you was really a part of this country, it would have been 13, voluntary servitude by consent to serve the Most High within the Constitution for the new kingdom. And we do have some 13th Amendment heirs. That's like Diana Ross mixed children. They are 13th Amendment constitutionally protected heirs, voluntary servitude by consent for the kingdom of YESHUA and the everlasting kingdom of David to serve in a volunteer basis, okay? So that's the consenter with the non-consenter, Judasian full blacks. If a wicked man restores the pledge, pays back what he has taken by robbery, and walk in the statutes which will ensure life without committing inequity, he shall surely live. It's not enough to say, God, forgive me. Repent. You own nothing. Repent. You stole everything you got. Repent. You have no 14 birthrights. Repent. The banksters set you up as debt slaves. Repent. Get out of our houses. Repent. Stop acting like this is yours. Repent. You don't have no amendments. Repent. You're in corporate doctrine slaves. Repent. And just because you're in corporate doctrine slaves, you're not going to be removed from that. The job is now to save your soul, because I done seen second death, and believe me, you don't want it. This is Mary Omni from the House of King David. Shalom.